Yeah, original. I like that. Shouts out to Thadwell and Constantine with that new intro. Y'all like that? I do like that. That's hip hop at its best.
Thank you.
Before we go any further, let me tell you what hip hop is so that you can kind of understand what it is that we are trying to relate to you. Hip hop is a musical genre which developed alongside hip hop culture, whole culture, okay? And it's based on DJing, sampling, scratching, rapping. Those are some of the concepts. It has evolved and is now beatboxing, or it was beatboxing, breakdancing. It began in the Bronx in the 1970s, primarily among African Americans with Jamaican and Latino American immigrant influence. The term rap is often used synonymously with hip hop, but hip hop denotes the practices of an entire subculture. All right, so that's kind of what it is. That's what it is. We have just elevated it to something better, something new. And I say better because here on the Skool of Hip Hop, that's what it's about. It's about empowerment, education, and also entertainment, inspiring, igniting, and all that other good stuff. Anything we can do that's positive, we want to do it, all right? So, Sebastian Cole, this conversation that we had that sparked all of this, you know, it was very deep. But before I tell you, or before I let him tell you, you're listening to the Skool of Hip Hop right here on 95.7 Jams. We got 2 hours now, so you've been listening to it, but this is it right here. What was that?
Basically, it's in knowing where people come from.
Okay.
You know, a lot of times, you know, if you don't know where you come from, it's really difficult to really judge where you're going.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, you know, I feel like one of the problems that's happened to this culture has been that, you know, as a people, you know, you ask and not to be racist, not by any means, but you ask a Chinese person where they're from, they're Chinese. You ask a Vietnamese person where they're from, I'm Vietnamese. You ask a Russian where you're from, I'm from Russia. You ask me where I'm from Dolomite. And that's as far really as we can go, you know. And then so then we have some kind of grasp to African culture for the most part, and we've grasped that because ultimately we know that there was a slave trade and we ended up here via the African slave trade. But if you don't really know where you come from, then you start to see these things, you know, show up in your culture later on, and you think of them as new, and they're not really new. That's why I kept bringing up David.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a new concept. Call and response music has always been a part of our culture.
Right.
Wearing nice clothes to small events like basketball games and football games, like we've done that for forever. That's nothing new.
Okay.
My great granddaddy, if there was a classic in his day, he was sharp when he got there. So, you know, like these things that we're seeing in this culture are not new things to the culture, but over time the culture, as our minds begin to degrade as far as, you know, understanding what our morals are, I think that's the problem, because the music ain't bad. The music is just music. I mean, a G is a G. I don't care if I play it in a church song, if I play it in the blues, if it's on Soulja Boy's next album, it's still a G.
Okay.
But you know, it's my morals as I've come into that's gonna really mess things up because I don't know where I'm from.
So, with that being said, I know my dad is probably like rearing to say something. He wears dashikis and kufis and African pieces every day, all the time, all over the house, masks, all of that. So trust and believe, if you know him and you know us, you know that that's what it's about. So do you feel that we are from Africa, or that Africa is where we all are from, people, period?
You just answered it.
I did.
Yeah.
Word.
We all are from Africa. It is the cradle of civilization.
Okay.
That's where all men started, right there in Africa.
Even white men.
White men.
What's the one color? What's the one color that all other colors get its origin from?
Black.
Even white.
Mm-hmm.
You can any color, regardless of the color, it originated from the black.
Did you know that? Get your notebooks out and get your pens out. I was like, dang, how that happen? How you do that? So from black comes white, comes yellow, you got kind of pinkish people, reddish people, light brown. All of that comes from black.
From black.
Really?
I just want to share this real quick. I was in Africa in October, and I shared there with several villages. The majority of the people are black people. I'm not talking about brown. I'm talking about black people, and I can show pictures of that. I've shown some pictures here tonight.
Mm-hmm.
But when we talk about who we are, and as Sebastian said, we don't know who we are, where we come from. He said he came from Dolomite. Well, I was born and raised in Birmingham, in the Inslee area, But my roots, and I believe this in my heart, it's not just what somebody told me, but I believe this, that my roots are in Africa. When I stepped foot on the grounds in Nairobi, Kenya, I felt a difference. I felt like I was at home. I felt a freedom. And the people even greeted me saying, "You are my brother, you have come home, we welcome you." Okay. And this is something that we have to understand. We have to claim where we come from. Yes, my complexion is light, but that is because we were raped from the motherland. Our people were raped from the motherland, and we have been torn apart because other folk we dipped into their blood. That is why we are of such diverse complexions. Okay. But we are of a black people.
You know, I love what the pastor just said, and one of a thought come to my mind that we were raped, if you would, and that's a powerful word, man, to use. We were raped from our mother country. We were taken against our will and brought to a country, and the people that took us from our country and brought us into this country never realized that one day we were going to be what we were destined to be. Oh man, that's something. They didn't realize one day we were going to be what we were destined to be. And hip-hop, we might think it's new, but go back to our mother country and we will discover that the beats, they're already there. The moves, the rocking out, the whole nine, my man, the swag, all of that is already in our mother country. We were destined to be what we are. So everybody just needs to get on board, ride this train, enjoy what God is doing, allow the diversities that God is expressing his word through to come alive, because some of us is going to be won by amazing grace, and the others will be won by amazing grace, just with some hip-hop to it.
Okay, 7410957, it's a number. Call in with your questions and your comments. Hip-hop to religion. Right now, we're on Where Did We Come From? How do we get this way? Go ahead.
I mean, I think hip-hop has subconsciously brought back a lot of our roots that people don't even realize. Because, I mean, for instance, you know, your name is Wu, Sirius, CJ, Black, but yet I still use the slave name Courtney. And that deeply bothers me.
Oh, we got to hurry up.
Deeply bothers me, okay? I mean, I come on every week, I give another AKA, and that's fun for me, but, you know, we have to get back to, I mean, we talking about getting back to our roots. It starts with our name. You're right. When you wake up every day, I mean, seriously, I mean, and no disrespect to my mother and my father, but yeah, it does bother me that I have a slave name.
Well, I think that's a really good point. Getting back to where you come from. Interestingly enough, if you guys ever get a chance, go open up your books, open up your Bibles to the book of Acts chapter 21, start at verse 37, 38. What you'll find is that this Hebrew man named Paul, who was the great apostle who wrote 60% of the New Testament, you find out that he was mistaken for an Egyptian. And we normally think of, trying to figure out where you come from, because I heard Eric had put something up on his Facebook the other day about being on the census, if you were going to put Black, African American, or Negro. And I said I was going to put Negro. And the reason why I said I was going to put Negro is if you ever read in the Zodiades Bible Dictionary, you'll find out that Ham, who was the father of the African nations, was not the father of the Negroes. That means that there were a group of people who happened to look like Africans. Moses was mistaken for an Egyptian. Okay. And he lived in Egypt. The Egyptians knew that he was not Egyptian, but he looked just like him. Right. And if you ever read the book of Deuteronomy chapter 28, you'll find out that there were some blessings and curses that come along with doing the will of God. If you follow those things, you'll be blessed. If you don't, what's going to end up happening to this group of people who look like Africans, they was going to be on a slave ship, going to a place that neither them nor their fathers had known, that they was going to be on there by shit. That's what the book say now. So I mean, when we come to really look into now, either God knows what his children look like or he don't. Okay. And I assume that he's smarter than my mama. She know what I look like. Okay. So and so when we look at that, then it leads me to believe. Now y'all check into it, call and cuss me out later, email me or something. That's all good. But if you look into it, it seems like we come from them people, and so when we start to see these things happening, it looks like a direct result or a direct inference that somehow we didn't catch.
We want to go back to some of those things that those people did that make it sound like it could be us.
One thing, I want to play devil's advocate for a second. If we're saying that I have a slave name, that the name I have is a mistake, we're saying God messed up somewhere. Think about it. Who I am is who God called me to be right now. So my thing now becomes I think we got to be careful of going back, because if we start going back, we try to take God out of it and put folk mess into it. So who I am, I'm Michael McClure. That's not a slave name, that's my God-given name. Because to say that I should change my own name says to me that God, somewhere in my lineage, if he knows that he's the Alpha, the Omega, the beginning and the end, we're saying now he messed up in my middle.
You know, Mike. You know what? I'm gonna go even a little deeper. Can I go deeper?
Go deeper.
I'm not my name.